Our agenda today, we would expect it to last 30 minutes, maybe 40. So again, thanks for your time. What we hope to cover is just some of the basic reporting capabilities within GradLeaders Career Center. We're going to focus on items 2 and 3, our new metrics dashboard that's available within the product, and number 3, an add-on Ad-Hoc custom reporting module available through a third-party product. And then we'll talk about training and support for these new features, leave time for questions and answers, and talk about next steps. Just as a heads up, the questions and answers will be via the WebEx chat function. So if you want to take a moment now and try to find the chat function within WebEx, that's what we'll be using for the Q&A at the end of the session. But since we are recording, we have all the other lines muted for now. So let's go ahead and dig in. The robust reporting capabilities are something that's been in GradLeaders Career Center since the beginning. We've had a number of schools using this platform for almost a decade, and so there are lots of predefined reports. There's lots of details about them in our product knowledge base and in our support portal. There are also the ability to do lots of flexible search and filters to get down to subsets of data records you might want, so that you can define the data records you're interested in and pick the columns you're interested in. So flexible reporting available in pretty much every portion of the GradLeaders Career Center system. Again, won't focus too much on that in this particular webinar. Here's what we are interested in. I'm going to show you this in a live demo in just a few moments, but the new metrics dashboards are built in now to the administrator view of GradLeaders Career Center. There are 5 standard looks. We went through a process here of using our experience to define what we felt were the basic areas of importance for a career management, career services office. We bounced those designed widgets off of a subset of our customers: big schools, small schools, undergraduate, state universities, small schools, private colleges, MBA schools, and came back and landed on what became our standard looks or standard widgets that we'll show you in a moment. The 5 areas of business, obviously your candidate or student activity is probably thing number 1 you're interested in. There's advising and coaching metrics, employment reporting / outcomes reporting, employer engagement statistics, and a module about job posting activity. And again, we'll look at all those in a little bit. You've got the ability to drill in and see a lot more than what's on the surface in these dashboards, and we'll look at that live, as I said, in just a moment. The next new piece we want to cover is the ability to do ad hoc reporting and really dig into the data that's in the system. Those of you that have been using the system for a while know that there is really just everything about your business in the system, and so this tool is going to help you get it out, and get it out in a way that's meaningful to you and the people that you have to report to. So what is Looker? It's the tool of choice that we've used for this. It is business intelligence software. It's great at helping with analytics. It is a newer product. It's a couple of years old, so they're solid. They have a big customer base. They've got great funding. Google Capital is the funding behind them. We chose it over other similar products because of the fact that it is incredibly flexible, and it lets us define our database model into their product so that we can make the product something that is meaningful to you, our customers. It's also embeddable, as I'm about to show you. It's something we can embed directly into our product without an incredible development effort. So those 2 things were the reasons for our decision. The next bullet point is probably even more important than that. By using Looker, we were able to keep the data on our servers. It doesn't have to go out to some third party. So your data that you value and then we value is still secured on our servers. So no additional risk or passing of important data over the internet is happening. As I mentioned earlier, we do the data modeling. So we know what's in our system. You know how you see it on the screens in our system. And so our job is to model the data in a way that is easily translatable for folks who aren't IT professionals. If you use the system and your job is to deal with job postings in companies and students and so forth, and you know where the data is in the system, you'll be able to find it in Looker and build reports. This is an add-on option, as I mentioned. And the customer success managers here at GradLeaders have the information about pricing, or they're able to do demos of this for you individually as well. Now I'm going to take a moment and adjust here and get my browsers in front of you, but we're going to do a live demo, and I'm going to show you everything here that's detailed on the bullet points. In terms of the standard metrics widgets that are built into the product, as well as building custom reports directly in Looker. So bear with me for just a moment. We'll get my browsers going here. I'm logged into our demo site. There's a fair amount of data in the demo site. It's not as robust as would be a regular school, but I think you'll get the idea. The first thing I want to illustrate is that there is this new metrics tab over here that has probably been turned on for you if you're already using GradLeaders Career Center. If you're still on the CSO platform and you're just curious, I mean, this is obviously something that's only in GradLeaders Career Center. Maybe that's additional motivation for you to migrate over to this platform off of CSO once you hit a semester break or summer break in the coming months. But the first thing those of you on GradLeaders Career Center should know is that we're turning it on for the primary users at our school, but you have the ability, by going into the Manage Users utility, you can turn it on for anybody that you want by simply giving them the permission to the new metrics dashboard. There in the permissions. Once you have permissions to the metrics dashboard, you'll see this. And again, these are the five, the 5 standard widgets that I discussed earlier. The first is student activity. You'll notice some of the outputs are just numbers. Some of them are graphical charts. I'll just scroll slowly through them here, and then I'm going to dive into the details of some of these as we go forward. You can see metrics types reports with year-over-year percentages and so forth. So let's talk about how to use these. I'll start here with the candidate activity. First of all, these dashboard looks or widgets have filters, so you can click in and drill down a little more. For example, in this demo site, we have 2,288 total students, and I can see their level of engagement in terms of how many have signed up for an appointment, how many have logged in and uploaded a resume, and so forth. But if I want to really drill down and focus on something, I can come in and I can filter by their class year, or I can filter by their status and get new numbers. And so filtering is utility number 1 in terms of letting you take a closer look and analyze your information. Now in this case, I've got 232 students eligible currently in this demo site, and I can see, well, 131 of them have logged in, 100 have signed up for appointments, and so forth. And if I want to take a closer look at that, I can click through any of these graphical images and get the details. So let's just pick on appointment sign up, 100. I can click in, I'll be able to see the names, I'll be able to see the volumes. For example, here's a student who has logged in 377 times, had 2 advising appointments, attended 12 workshops, and so forth. And I can get all of that information there. All of this data, summary and detail, is also exportable by using the download data. As you do that, you can pull the data out to Excel or a handful of other formats so that you can take the data out of the system. And again, you can do that in summary or in detail from those drill downs. If we take a quick look at the employment reporting or outcomes module, you can see there are 3 basic widgets here, one around who are the 10 most recent job offers and input in the system. Employment status at a glance is one that I think every school I've talked to is interested in. Let's just focus on something and say, well, I just want to take a look at one group of my students. I'll take a look at the 2017 graduates and get a snapshot. So half of my class almost has accepted offers, 15% are still seeking, and a certain amount are going on to additional education and so forth. So I've got at a glance status report on my class. And there are other reports available here as well, including a salary breakdown by job function. Again, worth pointing out, you've got a lot of inherent capability built within all of these reports in terms of your ability to sort or to filter. maybe, how are my students doing that have accepted? I can click in and see details. I can export the information. So lots of capability in all of these widgets. The job posting activity is intended to show you, in this case, month-over-month posting activity. And you can see, for example, in July, I had 123 job postings done by 60 distinct companies, and I can see how that compares year over year versus July of the previous year. And again, click through capabilities. Who were the 60 companies that posted in July? There they are. So lots of capability around that. And again, don't forget the filters. The default here is it's showing me the last 3 years. I could tell it to show me the last 6 years or what have you. I could say show me just the postings again for one part of my student body. Maybe I'm just interested in seeing the internships that are posted. I could filter on the job audience and so forth. The next widget is around your advising or coaching function. This widget is showing you capacity, and it's showing a couple of weeks into the future as well as the last couple of years for comparison's sake. So in this case, I can see, oh, next week I've got 37 slots available for students to sign up. Only 6 are signed up so far. Again, this is a demo site with not a lot of great data, but you get the idea. It gives you a peek ahead into the weeks coming up to say, ooh, I need to add some more availability for my counselors if it's filling up quickly. And you can look back at the last few weeks and see, well, I had a fill rate of 54%, and that was way up over last year. So a good insight there into the type of capacity you might need for your advising or coaching function. And then finally, the last is about employer activity. Again, just some basic stats here to show our employers logging in, using the system, and so forth. Obviously, not a lot of activity in this demo site, but I think it illustrates the capability of these standard widgets. Again, if you're having questions about any of this, feel free to start typing them into the WebEx chat window at any time. We'll answer all of those questions here at the end of the session. The next thing I want to illustrate then is the Ad-Hoc capability of the Looker account. Again, as I mentioned, this is an add-on. This is something you contact your customer success manager about acquiring. When you acquire this, you actually get a login to Looker itself. And so we pay them for that account, and therefore we ask the schools to pay us for that account. But it is access to Looker against our data model. So as long as, again, as I said, as long as you understand the data that's in your GradLeaders Career Center system, you'll be able to utilize this for reports. So what do you get? You get obviously access to Looker, you get training from us, you get documentation from us about the data model. You also get Looker help. You get their documentation, which is wonderful. It's how our staff taught themselves how to use Looker. Show you that in a moment. It is very plain English, very easy to read. You'll be wanting to browse reports, you'll be wanting to explore your data. It's fantastic documentation. Similarly, you will have access to live chat support with Looker representatives themselves. So again, if you have questions about the data, where to find things in the data, that's something GradLeaders helps you with. But if you have just a distinct question about certain functionality within Looker, you can chat directly with a Looker representative as well. So lots of help and support for you there. I want to just run a couple of quick reports to sort of illustrate the capability. I'm going to focus for now on job postings and applications. That's obviously the heart of a lot of Career Center's activity with students. I'm going to not spend too much time on training. As I said, you'll get training down the road if you choose to acquire this. But for now, I want to just build a quick report based on job applications. And so I'm going to put the company's name of the job application. Let's say I want to do a little analysis on industry. So I'm going to go ahead and get the industry off of the company record. And I'm going to go back to the applications, and let's just say I want to get the date of the application. Pretty easy. You can see it's just putting columns over here, and I can just hit run and get a report. Now, I didn't do any filtering there. If If this takes much longer to run, I will stop it and put an actual filter on it so that we can get a report in a more condensed amount of time. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's just go ahead and filter on the application date, and let's just say it's all of the job applications that have happened since the summer started. We'll just call it June 1st. Pretty easy to build a filter. I should point out, you can filter on any one of these data fields here. I could filter on the student's name is Susan. I could filter literally on any field that's in the system. In this case, I chose a filter on application date. Let's run that again. As you get the report, you can see it's complaining that, or warning you really, that I hit a row limit. You can limit reports to a certain number of rows of output, so don't be alarmed by that. You can set that number as high as you want. I set it a little lower just in the interest of time for today. But you can see, so it's pretty easy to get reports out in that fashion, and as you would expect, you can click on a column and sort on it. You can drag columns into the right position. So if you wanted this application date here, so forth, you can do that. So it's pretty easy to build and customize reports. Of course, again, you can always save them. You can always download them to Excel. There's even an element called scheduling, which I'll show you in just a moment, that I think it has the schools very excited that are working with this now. But let me go just a little further with this simple report. So now let's say you wanted to actually do a little analysis. You just didn't want a detailed report. Let's say you wanted to analyze your job applications by industry. I'm going to remove some of these columns. I'm going to leave industry there, and I'm going to go ahead and add the month of the application. And now I'm going to add something called measures. These are fields that let you do counting. I'm going to say how many applications were there, how many distinct students does that represent, and let's just also throw in distinct companies. If I run this, the system will take a moment, and I've got two columns out there to the left. I've got the industry, and I've got the month of the application. So you can see what it's done. Since June, what sort of applications have I had broken down by industry? You can see, for example, in transportation, in each month I had some applications. It's showing me the number of applications, the number of distinct students, and the number of companies. If I tighten this up even more and say, you know what, I'm just going to remove the month itself, those columns will just recalculate and summarize based on the one column that I left out there, which was industry. And I'm going to go ahead and sort that based on the volume. So clearly, the finance industry is where most of my student applications are happening. And that was 557 students this summer, and 56 distinct companies had posted jobs that got applications since the June 1st date that I specified in my filter. And again, as you would expect, you've got click-through on all of this. So if I wanted to say, education, who were the 5 companies that took applications this summer in the education industry? I can just click through, and there they are. So a lot of flexibility, lots of power in doing these calculations, even so far as to do custom calculations on your own. If in this case I'm interested in understanding what is the average number of applications done by each student. You can simply give the column a name. There are a couple of steps you go through. Again, and as I mentioned, you get training, but I'm just going to take the number of applications, and I'm going to divide it by the number of students. I can choose my format, and that will add a custom calculation column for me. And I can see, you know, in these couple of industries here, I had almost 3 applications per student. And in some industries, it was lower. But it's that easy to put a custom calculation onto your reports. Now, let's talk for a moment about the visualization aspect. You saw some graphics in the standard GradLeaders Career Center widgets that I showed you. Now, you see here it's defaulting to a bar chart, and this looks pretty bad, right? So the first thing, if you're going to use data visualizations, is you really need to limit the number of rows to something manageable. Otherwise, you'll have something that's not too appealing visually. You know, if you're going to run detailed reports like this, that's great. Let it go 500, 1,000 rows. But if you're doing something visual, let's limit the rows. So in this case, since I had sorted by the number of applications, these are my 10 most popular industries where my students are applying to jobs. Now let's look at the visualization. This will look a lot better. And you can start to see here, I've got the number of applications, the number of students, and the number of companies, and then even average. You can even turn off certain categories here if you want. If you want to just focus on the applications and the students, I can visualize it that way. There are not only horizontal and vertical bar charts, but scatter plots, line graphs, area graphs, etc. All sorts of things for you to play with. Pie charts, this one will complain because a pie chart is only able to be utilized if you've got one column and one measure, one piece of math. It doesn't understand what to do. There are even donut multiples, which is an interesting way to look at things as well. So lots of things you can do with the visualization. I want to show you a couple more things. First of all, let's go ahead and save this. Give it a name. You know, I might have more intelligently called that applications per industry or given it a real name. But in the interest of time, I'll just call it Test 15. Now that I've saved it, I can schedule it. I'll give it another name. And what does schedule it mean? It means schedule delivery. So once you've built a report and saved it, you've got the capability to deliver it to folks, and you can deliver it on a repetitive schedule. So let's say this is something I owe the dean or the assistant dean on a weekly basis every Friday at 6 p.m. or noon or whatever. You know, you pick the delivery schedule. All I have to do then is put in a list of email addresses, separate them with a comma, etc., and I can then set up a delivery schedule for this report. And you can see I can send the graphical visualization or the chart or both on a delivery schedule. The schools using this now are incredibly excited about the amount of time it's going to save them in terms of their staff building reports manually. So that is one of the biggest wins in the opinion of other schools with Looker. That concludes what we wanted to demonstrate today. We're going to go back to the PowerPoint now. So in review, we talked about how you can use the standard widgets in GradLeaders Career Center today. Easy to turn on with a permission. You've got lots of filtering and exporting capabilities built within the standard dashboards. You've also then got the ability to acquire an optional login directly into Looker so that you can build all of your own custom reports. I mentioned the support and training already. Just want to reiterate it again that you know, the built-in dashboards really don't take any training. Ryan's going to share with you some great support materials to help you get up to speed with those that are already out there and available. If you do want the add-on ad hoc reporting, then you get some heavy-duty training from us, and you have all of that online documentation and chat available to you.
Hi all, this is Ryan Pratt. I'm the Marketing Director at GradLeaders. Before I jump into the Partner Support Portal, I want to remind you to type your questions into the chat window. It looks like we've already got 3 or 4 questions in there, so we'll get to those here in 1 second. But we wanted to take this opportunity to remind you about our new Partner Support Portal. It's gradleaders.com/partner-support. You don't have to worry about writing that down because I think you're all going to be redirected to that as soon as the webinar ends today. In there you'll find some basic support information, so the support email address, the support phone numbers, links to the knowledge base. The knowledge base is something you should definitely look at. It has been upgraded recently. There are a lot of new articles and FAQs related to these metrics dashboards in there, plus lots of articles about other new features we've released recently. The next section in the partner support portal you'll find is the GradLeaders University. And this is full of guides, not only guides for you as admins who log into GradLeaders Career Center every day, but also guides for your students, guides for your employers. In the guide section, particularly for the metrics dashboard, there are lots of new guides for you. Kind of review what Dave just talked about today. There's also a bunch of how-to videos in the university section. And then also another reminder that there's a whole other section with best practices where we have email templates and flyers and all kinds of communication templates that you can download, quickly throw your logo, your school name into there, your contact information, and you can use those yourself. On the next page here, Dave will show you just some examples of some of the stuff you'll find in there. But again, it's mostly guides we've created. They're downloadable, they're easy to print, they're just PDFs, so you can download them, you can hand them out to other users in your office, you can download the student guides and hand them out to students when they come in. There's also videos that you can link to, and again, those downloadable templates that are typically Word docs that you can just quickly throw your school name in there and use them yourself in our mass email tool.
Okay, we're to the question and answer part of the session, and we've got a few in there already. The first question was, can we modify the filters available for use on the 5 main dashboard looks? The answer is you cannot, but we can, and we are fully expecting and hoping we get school feedback on these. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, we've added 2 or 3 things already where schools were saying, can we filter the jobs widget based on job audience and based on work authorization? So we've added those. We would welcome your feedback. If you have feedback for changes to the standard widgets in GradLeaders Career Center, if you can just send in a normal support ticket, include the word looker in the subject of your email. Those are tending to find themselves to me or somebody else who's helping me deal with looker. So happy to get those suggestions. The next one says, looking at the candidate daily logins, what if I wanted to look at all of August's login? Is that possible? It seems to only be a rolling 30-day period, and you're correct about that. That's how it's currently built. I've already heard from a couple of schools that a date range filter on that would be a desired filter. So that's on the list of things that we want to build in. I think it's a great request to enhance that widget a little bit. Same with the next question that came in, is there a way to drill down on the candidate engagement by date? That same filter on the candidate activity widget would apply to both of those widgets. Next question, will this work with survey reporting? And I guess I'm going to have to ask for a little clarification on that from the person that typed that in. I think if we're talking about outcomes data or employment reporting data that is collected within our system, then the answer is absolutely yes. That, Looker will be able to report on all of that information. If we're talking about the surveys that are integrated with, let's say, SurveyMonkey, Looker does not currently have a way to go out and report on the results of those surveys. So I hope I've answered that question. If not, feel free to type a follow-up question back into the chat window. Okay. That is the extent of the questions that are in there now. Again, we try to keep these to 30 or 40 minutes in the interest of respecting everybody's time, but I'm happy to stay on the line and answer more questions if they come in. The last thing we just wanted to share, again, are key takeaways. Again, there's lots of reports already built into the system. Chances are you can find them there. I was doing a Looker training the other day with a relatively new customer who asked a question, and I simply directed that person into the company file activity tab, and they could see all of the events and job postings and interviews that company had. So explore the system. There's a lot of information in there now. Hopefully between that and the new metrics dashboard, we're going to cover most of what you're looking for on a regular basis. But again, if you're interested in the ad hoc usage of Looker to build reports on the fly, contact your customer success manager for that information. We do not have any more questions in the window, so with that, we'll thank you again for your time. Again, it's amazing that you showed up in mid-September. I know how busy schools are at this point, so thanks for your attention. And if you do have more questions about this, After we get off the phone, certainly follow up with your customer success manager, please. Thank you.